Ah, the world of wrestling games. Solving disputes in the ring, flying off ladders, teaming up with the most unlikely of allies, battling it out in steel structures, throwing each other through tables, creating yourself or others, and smash all who oppose you. Or smash the ones you dislike, of course. From the humble beginnings, the classics and weird offshoots, for wrestling fans, there was a time where there was something for everyone. Until all that changed on that one fateful day. A new overlord stepped up, and wrestling games would never be the same again. Promises of greatness were made, and visuals that blew the minds of all the fans were shown to the unknowing rabble. With taking credit for past projects and the lack of information and footage shown very late every year before release, we should have seen it coming. And when Yuke's left in 2019, we should have abandoned all hope. 2K20 happened, a worldwide epidemic occurred, and 2.5 years went by without a single wrestling game. Battlegrounds doesn't count, like, ever. And then, screenshots were shown, dev diaries uploaded, delays occurred, old favorites returned, rosters revealed, and hope was restored. Then it launched, and first impressions were positive. Now we're 6 months in. Did it live up to the expectations?
What do you mean,
WWE 2K22 sucks. There's no other way about it. In this video I will explain exactly why it sucks. Why 2K will never develop a wrestling game we'll be either happy or content with, and why the license should be given to any other publisher. This will not be a top 10 biggest flaws. This is just a seemingly endless list of things wrong, bad, or downright broken with this game. 2K won't watch this video anyway, because quite frankly, they don't give a shit about the WWE fans or their consumers in general. So I will go all out with my many critiques. If you like my unbridled enthusiasm and/or gratuitous disdain in this video, elbow drop that subscribe button, as I intend to make a lot more videos about wrestling games. But not nearly as hate-fueled as this one, mind you. This one is special. For all the wrong reasons. If you're somewhat interested in my more joyful videos, elbow drop that notification button for future editions. Alright, let's start with something good. And the first thing you'll notice, yes, it does look good at times. At times. Especially at first glance, this does look very polished. Everyone who played 2K20 and saw the build-up towards launch remembers the outrage concerning The Rock's model. This year, clearly half of the budget went into his model because it looks phenomenal. Other marquee wrestlers like Edge and Roman Reigns look great as well, but only when they're standing still, and that's the thing. If they portray anything other than a stand still for the 3D scanner emotion, it looks like ass. We've seen pictures of wrestlers doing several facial emotions like pain, laughter and anger, but none of that is shown in the game. It all went through basic emotion rigging on the model, and it shows. Look at Drew's entrance. Menacing face when still. When moving, this person. Edge is known for having many emotions during his entrance, clearly soaking every moment in like it is his last. This is 2K's effort. Once again, faces look great when motionless. Anything under has been seemingly automized. Speaking for non-marquee wrestlers, we are allowed to say that again, yay! They clearly went for quantity over quality. Because while megastars like The Rock are expertly crafted, their lesser known performance didn't get that treatment. Johnny Gargano had a scanned model in 2K20, a bit tan, but he just came back from vacation, so okay, fine. But they decided to not scan him even though he was still with the company at the time. They remade him for some reason, but looks nothing like him. They did do some revisions, but those were hardly noticeable. Alright, let's just get my main character critique out of the way.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Is this supposed to be Andre the Giant? This is by far the worst Andre I have ever laid eyes upon. Everything is off here. His face is horrendous. Now I know Andrei Rusimov is no maximum male model, but this is just taking a dump on his grave. His stature and physique couldn't be more off. Look at his entrance too. Instead of the menacing giant, he just looks like the lumbering oaf baby something. I know doing a 3D scan is impossible, but it looks like they sculpted him for a day. Someone walked by and said, "Hey, is that supposed to be Andre?" And just called it a day. Bret Hart doesn't look anything like himself either. Ric Flair is just his recent 3D scan with a blur filter and a blonde wig slapped on. Walter, or Gunther, didn't have this imposing physique from his 871-day championship reign. Face is off too.
The following contest is scheduled for one fall. Making her way to the ring from Knoxville, Tennessee, Bianca Belair.
Now that we're talking about the roster, let's have a glaring omission talk. NXT has a lot of stars, and while I get the cutoff is after WrestleMania, some exceptions should be made to bring certain stars to the game in post-launch DLC. We all know 2K loves raking in that extra money, so this is baffling to me. They already had a DLC schedule and saw no reason to add in extra superstars people might actually want. Considering the fact that the game released 6 months after the usual annual release, I see no reason for extending the cutoff point until, say, Survivor Series. People like Grayson Waller, Solo Sikoa, Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes, Toxic Attraction, hell, even an updated extra attire from Mandy Rose who's been champ for a year would have been nice. Could have been a nice little extra pack, but it does sound like effort, and that is not 2K's forte. I know WWE is in charge of making those decisions, but something tells me there wasn't a whole lot of desire to add these. I mean, who watches NXT, right? Speaking of lack of effort, good God, there's so many ways to go now. Let's go with the overall ratings first. They had a whole show dedicated to the overalls, and needless to say, it didn't go well. Apparently, this guy is in charge of deciding the quality of the wrestlers, and he clearly doesn't watch the product. While the big names got a big number below their name, a lot of those were just randomized, it would seem. Once again, NXT gets no love and is portrayed as decidedly lesser than the main roster, even though the brand has reached peak viewership at the time. Cameron Grimes was NXT North American Champion and gets a 79. Fabian Eichner and Marcel Barthel, NXT Tag Champs, had an 80 and 79. Arguably the best female wrestler in the world, Io Shirai, had a measly 82. Current NXT Women's Champ Mandy Rose had an outdated attire and a disrespectful 80 overall. Keith Lee, Santos Escobar, Pete Dunne, Trent Seven, we could go on. On the main roster we got Chad Gable and Otis with a 79 and 76, Goldberg with an 88, the Usos with an 85. They're the best tag team champions in the world, mind you. Maybe ever. Continuing, Liv Morgan with a 77, Randy with an 88, Stone Cold at a 92, meaning Stone Cold is lesser than Roman Reigns.
What?
Alright, enough numbers. Let's talk gameplay. They revealed the new gameplay in an extensive video explaining how good it was, the new systems and how they adjusted the controls to be more intuitive and more pick up and play.
Okay, very quickly, I want to take it back to one point that Derek touched on earlier, which was about the accessibility of this game and being able to just pick it up and play. The controls are super easy to learn. And while my own habits fall back on button mashing the controller, even though we have that, I enjoy having to be very strategic and intentional about how I'm approaching this game, especially when it comes to the timing of things like reversals or finishers. So I can definitely attest to, hey, if you're feeling intimidated by this, please don't. Pick it up, try it out. You'll have such a blast.
Bullshit.
There are 3 reversal mechanics: block, dodge, and reverse. That's a lot for new players. The old SmackDown vs. Raw games had just 2, for grapples and for strikes on L1 and R1. People understood that shit. Now, if it was just that, it would have been not great, but manageable. But oh no, it gets worse. This guy here decided to implement a breaker system, which is just a fancy way of saying you can block everything, but we won't show you which button to press. For a game that's supposed to be about skill, you have to guess which button to press. It doesn't help that this is not just limited to standing grapples, it for some reason also applies to ground grapples as well. My guess is that they just didn't code button reversal visuals. No wait, it shows when you successfully reverse something. Baffling, just baffling. Arguably, this can be fine when you play against other people. But when you face against an AI that doesn't have to guess, it's extremely unfair and above all else, annoying AF. This goes especially on higher difficulties, where they just reverse pretty much everything, despite having adjustable sliders. Speaking of reversing, did you know that some finishers don't even display a counter button? For weeks I thought my timing was off, so I decided to take the hit, just to see when I had to reverse it. And lo and behold, no prompt was shown. You'd think this was a priority for the devs, but it doesn't appear to be the case here. There are still many cases of this happening that should have been remedied by now, but no big patches are scheduled, so don't expect this to happen anytime soon. The controls themselves are lackluster and beginner unfriendly as well. Back in 2019, they wanted 2K20 to feel different because they didn't really add anything beside a clusterfuck of a game. They opted for a new control scheme. Gone were finishers performed by pressing a single button. They thought it intuitive to press the A and X button together to perform a finisher. Besides it feeling awkward as hell outside of a fighting game to perform a move this way, it was even worse when trying to do a running finisher. Pressing the left trigger and 2 face buttons to do a spear was the most convoluted way possible to go about this. Now, if you had Roman's Superman Punch as a finisher as well, you'd have to press RB. That's 4 buttons and a stick direction for a finisher. Yikes. To their credit, the other controls were actually pretty good with the medium and hard grapples and strikes. And they had the Irish Whip mechanic right, which I'll get to shortly. All they really had to do was iron out the finishers mechanic. I guess for 2K22 they wanted to change everything to make us forget about 2K20 altogether, making it equally worse for different reasons in the process. Besides the aforementioned 3 reversal buttons, finishers are now performed with the right trigger, the A button, or holding the A button for an alternate finisher. That's 2 buttons less at least, I guess. I like the idea of quick and hard grapples, mostly because it reminded me of the old No Mercy and Day of Reckoning games. Restricting everything to a grapple state or a combo finisher just doesn't appeal to me. This one might just be preference instead of criticism. Doesn't take away the fact that there is still plenty of wrong with this game. I want to interrupt this gameplay segment with a little presentation critique. Listen to this.
And his opponent from Kyoto.
This has to be the most cringe-inducing, ear-bleedingly bad attempt at singing this song, and was obviously not recorded during an actual show. This has 2K developers sing-along written all over it, practically proving they've never heard that song before in their life. I was gonna say an attempt was made, but maybe that's giving them too much credit. And now back to our scheduled rant fest. One of the vintage moves in wrestling is the Irish whip, usually performed by pressing the grapple button and then a direction. Not here, no. You have to grapple first and then perform the Irish whip, completely removing the fluidity this move should bring to the game. A simple solution would be to just stand still, press the left trigger, and then a direction and grapple. Why an annoyed YouTuber can figure this out, but one of the biggest companies in the gaming world can't, is a mystery. Must be something to do with passion, I guess. Or I don't know. Play other wrestling games other than your own product. So the controls are garbage. But let's assume you've come to terms with them and figured them out. How does the game play? Well, expect to see a lot of blood. Not because they reworked the blood system, but because being bloodied in a match is guaranteed to happen. I know it can happen in matches on TV, but when it's rare, it's exciting. In 2K22, it happens more often than not. Now, the old school games had it happen when your head was in the red. In Day of Reckoning, it could happen at random, which was fun, but not guaranteed to happen. Now, if the blood was awesome and dripped on the chest and hands like in the old SVR games, then it would be more entertaining to watch. It's just a little bit lame here. But enough about blood. How does it play? Well, let me tell you. There are moments where it plays good, despite its flaws. But then you play it some more, and the flaws are slapping you on the chest like JBL with a jobber on a bad day.
Eddie's your buddy.
Okay, cool. First of all, Grande and Luchador.
Say you've learned how performing finishers work. You got them on the ground, perform the wake-up toss, untangle your twisted fingers, and watch as the damage will soon unfold.
Does Danger have a new finish? Does he have a new...
One of the requirements of finishers is that they actually connect. And while most moves certainly do, the fact that this is still a problem hurts the fun of playing this game. The simple act of jumping off the turnbuckle should be something looking forward to, instead of hoping you actually reach your target. 0 extra lines of coding went into this, and it shows. I don't care if they made it homing like in All-Stars or just a little bit. At least it always connected and hit their mark. While it could have a few laughs when playing with friends, the novelty wears off quick. Oh, by the way, speaking of finishers, remember Roman Reigns pulling off this signature maneuver? The man has never done this move, and even if so, not enough to warrant this as a signature move. Now, I know the tribal chief doesn't have many moves, we all know that. Superman punch, spear, guillotine. 2K, have the balls to just give him one signature. It's okay if they have an actual accurate moveset. Might as well talk about the movesets. Do you even watch the product, 2K?
I don't think you do.
Matt Riddle has been doing the RKO for a while now. No sign of it anywhere. He has his bro mission that he rarely uses. Andre the Giant has a tombstone, not a single headbutt in sight or a butterfly suplex. Becky Lynch has 2 manhandle slams for signatures and 2 disarmers for finishers.
What?
This is ridiculous. Bobby Lashley then. His signatures are the Dominator and the Spear. The first one he never uses, the second his obvious finisher. What are his finishers then, you might ask? Well, those are the full Nelson, yay! And the Yokosuka cutter. The obvious sig. While this may have been correct in 2020, it has obviously changed by late 21. Walter then. His signature is the powerbomb, his other the burning lariat. His finishers are the multiple powerbombs and the avalanche powerbomb. Where is his splash that he regularly used and won matches with? Might as well transition to something that other games have also done better. The customizing of movesets. This area has seen 0 improvements for 7 years. Hundreds of moves have been added, and the staggering amount of moves have been a bitch to navigate through, especially for finishers. Say I want to change a move on the ground. I can choose from upper, side and lower, pick a corresponding button, and then cycle through different categories to find something that suits my character. Now I want to change my finisher, and everyone will most likely have one in the front. There are no categories in the standing front position. No, you have to cycle through over 1200 moves, give or take, to find the one you like, which is incredibly time consuming. And yes, I counted them. I know there are categories at the end, but they also include ground and turnbuckle moves, which adds to the amount of moves and makes it even more confusing. Why can't they just opt for a system akin to the Day of Reckoning series? It is easy to navigate through and will help you find the perfect finisher in no time. While we're at it, 2K, just use this multiple finisher system. It will make it easier to give a more accurate moveset. Walter, for instance, or Gunther, whatever. Instead of demoting his regular powerbomb to a signature, make it the default front finish. Throw the avalanche powerbomb in the turnbuckle position and the splash in the diving position. Voila! Correct moveset. Hell, if you don't like the extra effort, which we know you don't, add an ultimate finisher option that costs 2 finishers, which is harder to kick out. That could be the Avalanche Attitude Adjustment, the Roman Reigns Wake Up Spear, the Undertaker's Jumping Tombstone, Ricochet's 630, his main finish is a shooting star now. Again, you don't have to give them this move, it's okay to leave it blank if they don't do it on TV or pay-per-view. They changed the animation system to make everything seem more realistic. To their credit, it does look better. Too bad it came at a cost. Because picking up items is rage-inducingly bad. The amount of times I screamed at the television because ladders and tables were not picked up, even though standing right beside them, was numerous. In their quest to make it all seem realistic, they clearly forgot they were designing a game. I don't need to see them realistically grabbing a ladder or table. I just need them to pick up the item that I want. Imagine playing a Money in the Bank match. Everyone is down. This is your moment.
Climb the ladder, kid! Make yourself famous!
And then, nothing. It's too close to the side. You're not at the right angle. Whatever the frickin' reason is, you won't pick up the ladder. You have to run outside and run back in to push the ladder more towards the middle. Everyone is already back up. Ooh. The same thing with tables. Absolute disaster. Just let them warp to your hands. Who cares, man? Your system is causing annoyance in what should be an extremely fun match. Maybe try something else with the minigame to remove the item hanging above. Way back when, you jumped towards the prize, remember that? You hung on it, and if nobody grappled or attacked you, you'd win. Hanging is useless now, it just causes inevitable damage. Good stuff. While we're at it, Let us choose the item hanging above the ring for a change. A briefcase, a title, can of gas, clipboard, mask crown, anything. Yeah, no, never mind. Wouldn't want to have too much fun now, would we? So we're outside the ring. Anything worth mentioning there? Well, yeah, I guess. Fighting in the crowd, as they call it, is still there and lackluster at best. You can do finishers against a barricade, to different results, usually disappointing. Everything else is the same, nothing added there. Backstage fights are in a new area. Anything to get excited about? Yeah, no. There's nothing of note here. No environmental interaction or anything. You can throw your opponent into the railing and throw them down, which doesn't result in an automatic KO or attempted murder lawsuit. There are some chairs lying about, a stop sign, some boxes that don't do anything, and some cars parked. Nothing exciting really. Look, I'm not expecting anything crazy like Here Comes the Pain, but this is really a check it out once, never visit again area, which is a real shame. Areas like this should be full of creative ways to hurt your opponent. There is exactly 0 ways to do this in a way that isn't possible in a regular match. So why bother? Well, you can do this, I guess, but that's about it. Speaking of things not added, hey 2K, remember when I said you don't listen to fans? Where is that special referee match? Is that so hard to add? Or are you saving that for next year's game to have another "we heard the fans" bullet point? It can't be that difficult, right? Let's say it's only one-on-one, because the engine can't handle anything more than that apparently. Select wrestler, change the shirt, normal stripes, WCW blue, maybe some throwbacks like Mankind striped or the Shamrock tank top or female crop top, and you're done. Expect to see the special ref without a ref shirt in 2K23. Now,
War Games!
a staple in NXT for many years now. 2 rings, a cage, 2 teams of 4 each, battling it out. A match that provided so much memorable moments and endless yes, there lies the problem. 2K couldn't handle that. Let's not forget that the elimination chamber hasn't changed in games since 2003. I wouldn't expect 2K to think of creative ways to introduce this to their game. It probably has something to do with the fact that they were probably not even aware of its existence, being on NXT and all. It's on the main roster now. So since it is being introduced to the main roster this year, you don't have to add it in the next game. Yay 2K24. I know what you're thinking, but Van Hellington, they added GM mode this year. Surely it was good. Yes, indeed they did add it.
And don't call me Shirley.
While an effort was made, clearly as bare bones as could be when it came to the actual matches. While they eventually added in tag team championships, first of all, why weren't these in the first place? There are still no Intercontinental or United States titles. Not only that, but having a triple threat is not supported. In GM mode, it's either 1v1 or 2v2. Wow, extensive. Add to that, they designed the rivalries in a way that makes 0 sense. You have to match specific types of styles for it to be a successful match, which removes all sense of actual creative booking. This mode was designed with a wrong set of mind. But hey, they will add triple threats in next game, to please all the fans. Ooh, we may even get rivalries for free, people. While we're in GM mode, you can spectate matches. This excited me, because AI versus AI matches is one of the things I enjoy the most. On my Twitch, I host tournaments where viewers can choose a faction and the AI battles for their supremacy. When I saw that the GM mode had special cameras you could switch between, I was excited. It was rudimentary, sure, but it would vastly improve AI matches and watching them. Until you realize it's only in GM mode. I should have known not to get too excited for anything 2K WWE related. Maybe next year. That should have been the tagline of this game. Speaking of disappointing, Universe Mode. For years we've been wanting a revamped Universe Mode, something that felt new, or at least something that actually works. It's been the running theme of this video, but seriously, what did they spend those 2.5 years on? If anything, it's less functioning than it's ever been. I know COVID has thrown a wrench in scheduling, but with the extra 1.5 years of development, this doesn't count as an excuse. Starting with the Money in the Bank briefcase being only available to target the men's title on SmackDown, while the women's Money in the Bank title is a Raw exclusive. I guess coding a superstar transfer is too much time for 2K to invest in. Rivalries that disappear or don't do anything, tag matches that are broken. Not only is the AI horrible, not caring what happens in the ring, or Irish whipping ad nauseum on the outside without any urgency to get back in the ring. Add to that is the issue of the Irish whip distance is exactly from post to post, so even if they want to Irish whip the opponent in the ring, he ends up throwing him into the post, followed by another whip to the other side of the ring. This is mostly an issue for AI matches, sure, but it's still a glaring issue that has been a problem for 6 years. Seeing my teammate in the other team's entrance appearing on the other side of the ring and leaving me in a handicap match. Now, if I got to pin him, that would be one thing, but the game still registers him as my teammate and he can't tag the actual opposing team, which leaves the match unable to complete. After this happened a few times, I couldn't bother with the mode anymore. The repeating cutscenes didn't help matters much either. On the subject of modes I couldn't bother with anymore, the big one. My faction. This will be a doozy. And again, how foolish I was to be excited for anything 2K does with WWE. The premise still sounds great. Form a faction and battle with other groups. I assumed it was either playing or AI automated like with the Mortal Kombat Injustice AI modes. Maybe assign roles in the faction to tag teams and single competitors to go for championships. Perhaps battle against factions of people in your friend list. The possibilities were endless. And yet, none of those possibilities were acted upon. Instead, we got this bland mode of endless grinding. Tedious 6 or 8 man f***ing ladder matches. This mode was so incredibly pointless. There was a lot of confusion too regarding the superstars. For instance, the Godfather, Mr. Ho Daddy himself, is in this mode. He's playable, has a moveset and everything, yet cannot be found in the main game. This could have been a fun, if tedious way to unlock extra attires for superstars in other game modes. Kingslayer outfit for Seth Rollins for example, extra attires for Kane over the years, recent versions of Mandy Rose and Alexa Bliss, older versions of Bayley or Becky Lynch. For reasons unbeknownst, alternate attires have been locked behind this mode. Adding to the frustration, you can pay real money to buy new packs. You don't have to, as you can grind VC or whatever in matches, but why would you? Especially since there is no online interaction with anyone. There's no motivation to do anything in this mode apart from spending way too much time to collect 5 diamond cards so you can get the achievement or trophy. And yes, I did. Got it, got out of the mode, never looked back. Well, only to shoot some footage for this video. The things I do. Anyway, what could and should have been a fun complementing mode to the game turns out to be nothing more than a tedious, frustrating, money-grubbing bore fest. I'm expecting them to double down on this for the next game. My Rise. This year's season mode. I don't want to spend too much time on this. I'm bored even writing this. Besides the bugs and crashes, there's really nothing much to say about My Rise. You always wear the same outfit for some reason, instead of a custom cutscene outfit you could make yourself. Stories are mostly told through phone messages, and when the character does speak, the acting is horrendous.
We did it!
Well, technically, I did it.
Seriously?
Relax, I'm kidding. We did this as a team.
Yeah, we may have been a last-minute thrown-together pairing, but it worked out.
So as GM of SmackDown, I know I'm gonna give myself a Universal title match against Roman Reigns. But what are you gonna do? Have a glow-in-the-dark match or something?
More voice options would be nice, at least to have a voice that matches the character. Older games had this, and honestly, without being a game developer myself obviously, this doesn't seem like a difficult addition to implement. What could be more difficult, but worth the investment, is a voice editor. A layer on top of the voice, as it were. Listen to this clip of Soul Calibur 6.
I can't run away. I can't run away.
Guess I gotta clobber ya. Well, guess I gotta clobber ya.
Why do you choose to fight? Why do you choose to fight?
Just the added pitch on a voice line adds so much to a character. Having this voice on this character just breaks me out of the immersion. Also, stories have no flexibility when it comes to wins or losses. You have to win, or it's end of story. Which would be true if that actually worked as well. On multiple stories I had the match ended in failure despite winning. Apparently I was doing too good of delivering a beating. Turned out I was supposed to receive a bit of beating myself, so a scripted run-in would occur. Doing a few required tasks in a match almost always results in a cutscene of you losing via nefarious means. Hub stories that decide whether you're evil or righteous, also annoying. Oh, and when you spend a dozen hours into making your wrestler, you can't export to the main game. Have fun creating it again. It's like every mode is on its own separate island of irrelevancy. Guess I had something to say after all. Let's move on. Previously, I mentioned entrances. One of the big issues with 2K20 was custom entrances with multiple created characters caused the game to crash. Supposedly, this was due to a RAM error. The specifics I didn't care much for, only that it got resolved with the next game. And it was solved, but not in the way anyone had hoped or expected. Instead of actually fixing it, they simply removed it. There, done, solved. They couldn't bother to fix this in 2.5 years? Creating characters and custom entrances is a huge part of any wrestling game. To add those missing the deadline or making their debut after a big pay-per-view. Having the proper entrance is a big part of that. 2K opted to just remove the feature instead of fixing it and providing the fanbase with an arguably essential feature. With having to copy existing superstars' entrances to new custom stars, you run into the problem that a lot of entrances will be looking the exact same. Another issue is not being able to export your custom Titantrons. Whether that's not possible or they didn't feel like adding another option box on the menu is still unknown. Post-match replays are still a mess too. They added a field of vision blur effect on top of that, and I wish I could turn it off. Sometimes after a move the effect stays during gameplay too. Nice. For players, the only real option is turning off the entrances and match celebrations altogether, which is a real shame. Once again, I don't know the specifics, but it seems to me the entire problem with everything in WWE2K22 is the by now outdated engine. Clearly, programming in this engine has been a pain, but powering through is a much cheaper option than opting for another engine and possibly starting from scratch. But guess what, 2K? I'm pretty sure 90% of the fanbase would be just fine with having a slimmed down game with functioning modes. Oh, new engine, so we don't have everything we did last game? Fine, as long as it plays well and better. The series needs an overhaul, especially with the AEW game on the way. The wrestling games were at its best when the N64 and PS1 both had their own exclusive wrestling games. And later in the early 2000s when THQ had 3 developers working on games on 3 separate platforms. All of them wanted to make the best wrestling game possible. And it showed. They oozed creativity and passion, and fans were absolutely loving it. It was the Monday Night War on a console level. Now I know that having exclusive wrestling games on different platforms is impossible now, and certainly not financially viable. But something has to be done. I'd love to see 2 different developers work on these games and alternate between them. Call of Duty is a prime example of this. While not my cup of tea, they're getting 2 or 3 years for every game, wanting to have the best one. Another possibility would be to alternate between franchises. Personally, I would love to see a sequel to All Stars, which was completely over the top but played great and was such a blast with friends. When I have friends over to play a wrestling game, they either want to play All Stars or Day of Reckoning. When I ask them why, they always say the same things. It's fun and easy to play. Having a game like All Stars alternate every other year would not only be a great arcade contrast to the simulation entry, but also give the developers a standard 2 years to finish the game instead of an annual release that feels more like an update. And it would also spark some healthy rivalry between the 2 developers to deliver the best game possible. I know they somewhat tried with Battleground, but that is not what the people wanted. All of this is most likely never going to happen, which is exactly why WWE needs to pull the license from 2K. They will of course fire back with solid arguments like, "Look how great this product sold," and "this side gave it an 8. Both of these statements are correct, but come with a 2K20 clusterfuck-sized asterisk. Yes, it sold well. Duh! There hasn't been a proper wrestling game out in 2.5 years. People are jonesing for wrestling games right now. And to the sites that gave it a positive review, I get it. I get it completely. You have a limited amount of time to put together a review and post it online. Competition is brutal, in gaming review side that is. Wrestling games, not so much yet. I myself was victim of this as well. Behold my tweet praising the game initially. Now behold this tweet sometime later. This game is one of those that gets worse the more time you spend on it. Great first impressions, but then the rust comes shining through. In closing, I'm not saying I want an EA to have the license, dear lord no, but something has to change. Now I know that despite my opinions on this game, the devs have worked hard on this game with what was available to them. We need to see a change in leadership and an engine to power the next generation of games. Change the engine to, I don't know, Unreal Engine 5, start from scratch and build something great. Wrestling games are supposed to be the most fun and outrageous games out there. Right now it's as stale as it could possibly be, and almost caused me to stop watching the product entirely, while way back when, it caused me to start watching it. That'll be a future video by the way, and a lot more enthusiastic too. 2K, either give it up or grow some balls and put some heartfelt effort into it. It's going to be a difficult task to undertake, but it will pay off in the long run. The community has been vocal about their displeasure. Maybe start listening to them. This is the first time I've ever become truly angry at a wrestling video game. I've been annoyed, displeased, disappointed and frustrated with wrestling games before, but this was the first time I've actually became enraged with the series. It hurts too, because like many of you, I was so excited when this game came out, and when I slowly encountered all these errors, mistakes, glitches, crashes, bugs, shortcomings, and horrible design choices, I just couldn't take it anymore. You've seen the comments like, I created an account to post this comment. Well, I've created a YouTube account and spent dozens of hours making a video. Wrestling game fans deserve better, and after years of mediocre games, it's about time we see some rigorous change. Hopefully they'll see it and decide to do some... who am I kidding? Thanks for watching, and I hope to be back soon with some more happier videos. If you like this video and agree, or disagree of course, let me know in the comments. Ta-ta!